Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Writing Killer Job Ads. My name is Mark McGill. I'm the membership director here at the Southfield Regional Chamber. We are so glad that you have joined us today and for a really great little webinar here. We have Grant Hellworth and Mike Ranchetti. They're both certified business counselors with ActionCOACH business coaching. A couple of housekeeping things. You can ask your questions in the Q&A section, or you can also hit the raise your hand icon and they will answer your question that way as well. So without further ado, the stars of the show, it's Grant and Mike. Good morning, boys.
Thank you very much, Mark. We're happy to be here today. I'm Grant. My business partner is Mike, and we joined the South Bend Chamber in the last year, and we've been happy to be engaged with the chamber and are delighted to be able to give back to the membership today and provide some insight on what we're observing in this marketplace as a challenging business task, which is recruiting new employees, and a really important element of that is writing effective job ads. So we're going to share you some perspective on that today. And we're seeking your input on how that process is going for you. And what I'd like to do is maybe just start out with let's see here, advance this slide. Just a real quick Q&A for you. And working in webinar mode is a little bit unfamiliar with some of us, but if the participants would please, in the Q&A mode, just give us some feedback on question 1. Are you currently recruiting? Give us a 1 Y or a 1 no, 1 N, and let's see how that accumulates. Looks like that's ticking up on my 1 Y, 1 Y, Y, Y. Okay, good. You wouldn't be on this webinar if that wasn't the case, right? What is your current need for additional employees? So give us a 2 L, M, or high, low, medium, or high, just to give us a little feedback on current need for additional employees. 2 high, medium. Whoop, looks like I'm flipping the slides there. Good. Thank you for that. Looks like there is some demand in the marketplace around it. Next question then, from a polling perspective, number 3, how's the quantity of applicants that you are receiving via your current recruiting activities? I see a 3 low and a 3 M. Anybody else have any input on quantity of current applicants that you're getting feedback from? M and L's, gotcha. And I will speak from experience. Mike and I have been doing some recruiting in this marketplace and doing some testing around job ads, and we've seen, as we've focused on and improved the quality of our job ads, we've gotten higher quantity of applicants. How about question number 4? What's the quality of applicants that you are seeing? Maggie Gibson, we will provide copies of this presentation slides. Yes. 4, is there one less than L? We've gotten some of those applicants. Yes, there are some lower than L. Anybody else have feedback on item 4, quality of applicants? Okay, and maybe the last question on our warm-up slide here, what sort of approaches are you using to your recruiting? So hit 4-1, 4-2, 4-3, or combination of that. If you, excuse me, 5. It looks like I have an error here. Question 5 is, 5 and then 1, 2, 3, or 4 on your approaches to recruiting. Are you using websites, newspaper, network, agency, recruiter? I didn't put Craigslist on there, but if you want 5, you can add that for Craigslist. Anybody have any responses on your approaches? There's 5, 1, and 3.
Yeah.
Okay, flyers, good old school approach. Appreciate that.
Me too. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So thank you for that. And I'm looking at Q&A, and I'm also I was not looking at chat. So we are going to have to add for polling, future polling question, put it under Q&A versus chat. But we'll thank you for all the feedback. There's good feedback in that column too.
Yeah,
So
we're collecting that in our recording. So that's good.
yeah. Okay. Good. Got it. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now move on to our prepared slides, and folks, pitch in questions and comments as we go here. Mike's going to be monitoring the chat and keeping me on task here. Otherwise, who knows where I end up in the ditch? But let's give this a go. So what we wanted to do today is provide a little highlight on the hiring environment as we observe it, and give you a little tip on what we're doing, observing with Google Trends. Secondly, talk about the recruitment experience, what the funnel looks like typically as a means by which to maybe give you some perspective on what your experience is compared to what typical might look like. We're going to give you a highlight on the recruiting process as we see it. And I'll step back one step. Mike and I are operating ActionCOACH 1, which is focused on doing business coaching for growing business owners in the South Bend and Elkhart area. And we leverage a tool, an ActionCOACH toolkit. And part of the content here today is we'll expose that to you. And it describes some approaches and best practices around recruiting. From that, we're going to transition over to some tips and ideas around writing killer ad language, really focusing on what kind of story that you want to tell in your ad that is going to deliver more applicants and better qualified applicants for your role. And then Mike is going to share ideas about leveraging the marketing concept AIDA to continue to help focus us on writing effective job ads. So if that works well for everybody, that's what we're going to do. And appreciate your input, feedback, chat, and Q&A as we go forward here. So here's a screenshot from a Google Trends analysis that I pulled last week. And if you're interested, trends.google.com will allow you to do the very same analysis. And I will acknowledge that this looks a little busy, but what it's basically doing is doing a summarization of searches executed on Google in the South Bend, Indiana, or South Bend Elkhart region during the past 12 months that have been initiated as web searches. And I started this by saying, okay, who's looking for retail jobs? And that is blue here. And you'll see on the left, sort of the bar graph that's a little less busy than the line graph. Secondly, I added construction jobs to see who was looking for construction jobs. Third, manufacturing, and fourth, nursing. And when I hit nursing, it was like, boom, it had a major impact on this graph. And the way Google Trend results are reported is it takes the very highest incident of a search, which happened to be nursing in sometime in the end of January, early February. The most frequency of nursing jobs was searched. In Google Trends assigns that a 100, and then everything else is scaled relative to a 100. So I just share this with you as a means by which to take a look at where, if you can vary the geography, you can vary the time frame, you can vary the search term, and it can pop some interesting analytics for you. And I think when you are looking for searching for employees, spending a little time on Google Trends to understand what other people are searching for gives you an opportunity to understand what the market's searching for, and gives you an opportunity to adjust your ad accordingly. And when you're on this Google Trends page, you can also scroll down on the page. I just have a screenshot here, but it'll tell you where those searches have been effective geographically, what some related searches are, and that provides you some insight as well. So Google Trends is my friend, and I encourage you to fiddle around with it a little bit with regard to this recruiting task. Next is an illustration of a funnel, and our goal here is to not just do recruitment ads, but to help you supercharge your recruitment ads. And some research has been done that says if you have 500 visitors to your ad on a website, maybe you'll get 10, 11% of those people who would apply, and then it might result in one offer. And what we're trying to illustrate here to you today and help supercharge is generating more effective job ads that create more visitors, that entice more people to apply, and not just apply, but hit the submit button, and then gives you a greater opportunity, a greater field of people that you might invite to interview, and gives you a much greater number of qualified applicants that you may wish to extend an offer to. And some of the content in this presentation has been adapted from Social Talent, so I'll give them a plug as we walk through this. Is that working? Any questions? Copy of presentations. Got it. Okay, moving on. Next slide is this is a little bit of a drill down I found very interesting on click-through rates. If 11% of people who saw your ad applied, that means 89% of them chose not to apply. And I think this is meaningful, and it has implication on how you write your ad. Research has shown that often people don't apply first because they're not ready to apply, or they don't have their resume ready. So they may be browsers or interested people poking around, and if they don't apply, that's okay because they're not ready to do so. But I think the other bullet points here are actionable and are worth consideration. So is your ad too vague, not giving a clear description of what the job's about, what the opportunity is about, what the company's about, or the team's about? Next one is, I don't think I would be considered. This is where people might be self-selecting themselves out of consideration, and you don't want to be too exclusive in your ad such that qualified candidates are self-selecting out of the process. So as you look at your employment ad, give that some consideration to determine whether whether the exclusivity is excessive and causing people to hop out of the funnel. Can't see how I would get out of this. You need to write ads that are compelling, that demonstrate how being on the team would be valuable. Don't know much about this company. That's honestly a challenge for Mike and I. ActionCOACH and ActionCOACH 1, our business, are not known in this area. So we have to take extra time and extra effort to describe who our company is and what it's like to be on our team. Next topic is, I want to apply discreetly. In some cases, in a small town or a small industry, people are reluctant to share their application details to a company because it may it may out them that they are out doing a job search. And we encourage people in their job ad to create an opportunity to discreetly inquire about the position, if it's that kind of a job or that kind of an industry, where you say, hit up Grant Howarth and send me a message on LinkedIn if you have questions, or call my direct dial number afternoons from 2 to 4 if you'd like to talk about it before applying. That's an opportunity to solicit applications that might otherwise might desire discretion. Last but not least, man, if the ad is not interesting, it's unlikely that you're going to get people to apply. So these are a handful of ideas that start to prime the pump around how to write killer job ads. This is a slide that positions the ad within the context of performing the entire recruiting process. And as I mentioned earlier, ActionCOACH has a number of tools and methodologies that we use every day to help growing businesses improve their success. And in the context of the overall search, the first thing we always coach our clients on is to first start by thinking about the ideal candidate, right? Take the time to define what the characteristics are, what their responsibilities are, who would be an outstanding and stellar candidate that you would like to have on your team. And with that candidate in mind, that helps you to go to the next step, preparing compelling advertising for the position. And we're going to spend the rest of the time on this webinar speaking about that part of it. The next steps that are in our recruiting process are deciding where to fish, right? Which means what websites do you advertise on? What geographies do you focus on? Whether you offer someone the opportunity to work from home, et cetera, all help to frame out where you want to spend your efforts in marketing that position. Next step, we've got some pretty interesting ideas about how to screen applicants. Sometimes we recommend utilizing a DISC profile, a behavioral profile, early in the process or potentially later in the process as a means to effectively get the right person in the right seat on your team. We do an interviewing process that includes a group interview where we would bring multiple candidates in, talk with them about our company, about the position, give them the opportunity to engage with us and with their peers. May seem like an untraditional approach. It probably is, but Mike and I have had very solid success with this approach in this marketplace as a means by which to for us to select candidates, but also for candidates to decide whether they want to deselect themselves, whether they want to be involved in the process of a little bit different, a little bit innovative. And the last element of the overall 6-step process is being focused on closing the sale and thinking about how you can do that effectively. So that's the overall view. Now we're going to drill down into the language of great job ads. Part of this session is based on information from the University of Saskatchewan, Calgary, University of Vermont did several years ago. They teed up similar job ads and drafted them in supportive mode and in demanding mode. And we'll define that on the next slide, but they found that supporting job ads received 3 times the applicants and higher applicant quality. In demanding candidates, responses were less discerning and were of lower quality. So we're going to talk with you about how to write supportive and use supportive language in your ads. And the overall view here is about minding the words that you use and being thoughtful about it as you craft a job ad. So a demanding or a company-centric ad demands the candidate to match the needs, to match the abilities of the candidate. So you've got to jump over this hurdle before we will even consider you. So a phrase might be used: the successful applicant will have excellent written and verbal communication skills, be motivated, self-starter. And I contrast that then to the next slide, which is supportive language, which are job ads written where the needs of the company are matched with what the company can supply for the candidate. We provide this kind of an environment. So typical phrases: as a core member of the team, you'll be expected to work autonomously. We will help you achieve your goals by continuous professional development. Note the use of you, your, and yours. And a real tip is go look at your current job ad and see how candidate-centric it is about how you are going to help them develop their skills, how they are going to succeed in your organization. Do a word count on you, your, and yours. Next step is the AIDA framework, and I'm going to hand over to Mike here to walk through this concept with you and get some more ideas about how to continue to frame the words in your job ads. Mike.
Great. Thanks, Grant. Thanks for giving those pre-comments. By the way, our chat line is wide open for any questions you might have follow up to what he was talking about and such. I'm going to talk about the AIDA perspective, and AIDA is really well known in the advertising community, and it has complete applicability to here with this particular situation. What we're trying to do is how teach you how to target your ad to the people who are really you're trying to reach. And to do that, we're also asking the question, what makes them respond? Of course, Grant was proposing here, as well as what's the best way to communicate to them so they actually take action. And you're doing that through your copy block. So what we stress here is that AIDA is on the far right. We see the words action, interest, desire, attention, action. So the idea is that we're trying to get their attention in some ways. You're doing it clear. I realize that some of the electronic systems are being used, some are flyers, whatever it is. Obviously, what we're saying is how do you get their attention? We really propose in our efforts, in our teams, is using a headline that asks a question many times, trying to get their attention and get them to stop from just a normal read, trying to intrigue them in, bring them into a little tighter, more curiosity mode. So we want it to be easy to understand. It's not complicated. Sometimes you have a complicated title because you have to hire a technical person or a subjective person that has an odd little request. You got to come up with a clever way that possibly catches their eye. Because, for example, we were trying to hire in a situation recently an enrollment specialist. An enrollment specialist you think would be one skill set, but when we talked to our peer groups of the online services and they're helping us out, they said, go back and use the universal sales position, because the cadence in this case is that people who are going to be enrollments experts are also looking at the sales role in some ways. So sometimes we had to do our headline with not using the keyword that we thought should be there, and we completely got a much better performance by using that more general accepted word that we learned through using the Google tool that Grant was describing earlier. So be aware of that. And Grant, you can look over at the chat for me while I'm doing this.
Yep.
And the second was frame the headline as a question, like I indicated, stressing the fact that you're trying to compel them to do something. If you're a bookkeeper and you're looking for this, well, we'll be there, that type of thing. Or what if you're a junior team member and you're looking for this, we'll be there, as a non-question, but it's also trying to compel them to stop and think for a second what they're doing. Because oftentimes we're thinking digital, but our ad's being picked up by other people and other groups. So you have to kind of look at how it's being used. Sometimes it's printed out literally and used as a standalone completely offline. So we have to realize that compelling headline sticks with it for a long time. Get to the point as soon as possible. And again, that causes the interest factor. We want to say, what do we want to do? What do we want to hire? What we're trying to focus on? And then the focus on the benefits of the job. And one of the keys there is also looking at the fact that you want to describe in a big way your company culture. You really don't want to shy away from that at all. In many ways, our company's efforts go and actually state the culture up front, because we want to deselect people. We want them to look at this ad and say, yeah, I like the talk of the title. It's intriguing, but the culture of the company really doesn't match my style. I'll disengage and they move on. Or more importantly, tell me more. You were nice enough to share a couple of paragraphs about your culture, 4 or 5 paragraphs in some cases. It's almost like with your ability to have infinite amount of copy block in some of these ads, you can do a lot of value added and provide more background to people on that type of thing, as well as a good just public relations and communication technique to evangelize your company's brand in other people's minds too. So if you want to definitely focus on the job itself, the benefits of the job as far as skill sets, as was mentioned earlier before, using a certain terminology of you and your, how you're going to gain from this experience, it's really powerful as well accepted. People can relate to it being, oh, I can put myself in that position mentally much easier. And the idea is that desire is that you're looking at the present tense. Everything is in the present, not did you do this in the past? No, present, what you're going to do today, what you're going to do tomorrow. Imagine having this job that has this power, this responsibility, this challenge, these new avenues to grow. Think of it as very positive in the sense of that ability to help people out, impact their lives, help clientele in the human resource world or healthcare industry or the manufacturing industry. I mean, how to be part of a team that's building better machinery or better parts for a certain industry. So just very, very present with what they're doing, what they're part about. the enthusiasm can't be understated. If you basically make it sound like you're just a cookie cutter ad dropping in and you're changing 3 words and do the next one, it shows. I mean, it clearly shows. And you might have that funnel happen and people get to a certain point and just stop and they won't be enthusiastic about carrying it forward. Because imagine, again, it goes back to branding. If they think that you're bored with writing the ad, imagine them trying to fill it out. It's a situation where they want to get excited by the enthusiasm of how you want to talk to them. You want to learn more about them if they're the right candidate, because it goes back to this idea of deselecting people. And the more that they understand you're a positive, go forth company, you're better off that way. You also want to qualify the reader. You want to definitely make sure that you're not implying that there's no skill sets required. You want to give them logical skill sets that are minimal, those type of things. But at the same time, we also run into situations where we were real surprised in this job market, how we had to look more, not vertical, but horizontal to try to say, this person has this skill set. They used it in a different world, but it sure could be something that we could talk to them about. And we actually got them further down the activity funnel to finalist position in one case. And we found out that this person had a wonderful 3 or 4 talents that we never thought would be great for us, but they were perfect fits for the ultimate decision to go forth or not, as well as they basically pointed out in their job in a subtle way that, hey, they had qualities that you never think were exactly what you want. So we want to get that in their resume or get them in filling out their ad lib section where they provide extra value. The idea is that you're qualifying them without limiting them, like was described earlier by Grant. And the final thing is a call to action. We really, really encourage that you build in a called deselection capability, where if you have, and I realize that some of the companies on the session today are larger companies, but if you have the ability to throw the ball back in their court and say, hey, if you're interested in this job, just don't only submit your application on this online service, but also make this phone call and call this special Google number and answer the 3 questions that we're asking you. And what you'd be amazed about is the fact that you get people doing that and you actually get the human interaction right away. You get an idea of maybe out of 20 people apply, 5 of them actually do this next step. Boy, that's the first 5 that we always look at. Because we look at they might not be the best speaker, but at the same time, it's a situation where they express some ideas, they think a little bit on their feet, as well as if they have a challenge with answering all the questions, they call back and you know that they're consistent as well as thorough. So it tends to be a very interesting, another value system that we look at quickly getting in this auditory side of it rather than strictly reading and writing, which is very important. So we look at that whole balance.
Mike, thank you. We've got a couple questions that have gotten started in the chat, and thanks for asking. Paul got a situation where they're in the media business, not competitive with pay with our peers in the industry. If we put it in the job ad, the pay range, it lessens our ability to get applicants or qualified applicants. Suggestions. Maybe I'll take a first swat at that, and Mike, you can clean up on aisle 5 as needed.
Sure.
I think our point of view would be put a compensation range in there, from modest to the higher end of the range as they may mature in the position. I would prefer not to, exclude someone with a spot compensation amount or narrow range in the first place. People sometimes read that comp range on these websites as a very initial filter, and I think you want to, put a little broader range in there to at least invite them in to hear your story about how you've built the company, how you value people, and how they can grow within the organization and grow within the compensation range. Any reaction to that, Mike, or others?
Well, I'll just add on a little bit as far as I do agree. The electronic systems say you don't have to put it in, but boy, you find that the stickiness, people looking at your ad as well as filling out if they have a range. And again, it can be a low end to almost a senior level position in that, even though you're only hiring a junior position, as long as you say, aspiring to, or you at least imply that the capability is to get to a different number. But if you're clearly in a position where your firm is offers other benefits that are not driven, just indicate those other benefits. And just we pay on merit also. I mean, at this point, people appreciate that we bonus on merit. Give them some indication that you guys will recognize that it's just not a dollars and cents scenario. It's also based on your ability to deliver on results. So many times that people, especially in the media business, will relate to that. So.
Okay, we're nearing the end of our 30-minute slot. I'm gonna roll on to the next couple slides. We want to leave you with 4 key ideas around running your recruiting process. It's desirable to attract a large pool of applicants, and that may mean having a broader range of compensation issued, just as a means to see who's in the market, what their questions are, and the approach. That does require then that you have multiple levels of screening. That could be a behavioral assessment, or asking them to submit a recorded statement on a separate line ahead of time, or what have you, to get a sense of what that candidate's capabilities are beyond what they write on their resume, or what their mom writes on their resume, or what their consultant writes on their resume. We encourage observing a short list of applicants, performing the position essentials in real time. That is doing that group interview where you bring people in and test them, or pose some questions about how they might perform in the role, and assess a short list of applicants to ensure you're making an appropriate match using assessment tools like DISC or something like that. So those are key principles that we encourage people to think about and leverage as they exercise their recruiting processes.
Hey, Grant, we've been given a few more minutes of time. Our friends and hosts of the South Bend region gave us another 10 minutes if we want.
Okay, gotcha. And I am looking at my slides here. I'm stuck between one, or I thought I had one more slide in here. I did. Oh, there it is. I got my final slides out of order. One of the and why don't we field any questions that people have here relative to this content, or ideas that you've got? We're near the end of our content. Questions, folks? You can use the raise your hand function to come on with audio or video if you would like. We'd be happy to ask or answer questions that you've got here.
Okay, that's
got a couple there in Q&A, or do we?
No.
I don't think those are new. Okay. Good. All right, maybe we'll go into this kind of survey slide. Again, responding in the chat slide, is the first time Mike and I have done this session to a Chamber of Commerce group, and we'd just love any feedback that you've had around, what is the value of this webinar. And Mike and I focus on coaching business owners and coaching businesses that are growing business in the, say, $1 to $10 million revenue. And love to hear a feedback from you as to the value of the webinar. And then secondly, add that in Q&A or chat. Secondly, if we did a future topic like this, or an extension on this writing job ads topic, are there particular topics that you would attend? Put a 1 in there on candidate screening tips, put a 2 in there for candidate interviewing hacks, a 3 in there for writing effective position descriptions, or a 4 for onboarding your team for success. And that would be about, what's it take to get them on board, introduce them to the team, introduce them to the culture, and how to skill them up over a 90-day probationary period or something like that.
Great feedback, by the way, in chats. It seems to be number 4 is a common theme. Some number 2s, as well as some people are saying all would be relevant. So I think we're getting some feedback. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, we appreciate the feedback. And Mike and I also want to thank again the Chamber for giving us an opportunity to get before you all today and just give some practical perspective. And I really value the feedback that you've given us on this webinar to dial in the comments. And we're happy to do future sessions like this to demonstrate how we work with and impact businesses. And if it's valuable to you, we appreciate sharing that.
And if I could just add one more point. I want to make sure you understand our company is local, but we also are part of a global company that has presence around 80 countries. Also, there's 15,000 businesses, that larger and smaller businesses, that we work with on a weekly basis, as well as profit and nonprofit. So I know on the participants are some nonprofits. We definitely have engagement, work with them, as well as applicability. As everybody knows, business is business. We'll leave it at that. So
Yeah, good. Last slide here is our contact details and emails. If you'd like the slides, send us an email. I think we've got one email address captured in the chat. If there are others who would like a copy of it, we're happy to share this content and have a follow-up conversation with you if you'd like. Our website has a number of events listed on it where we do some free business growth seminars and the like. If you're interested in hearing more, we're happy to share that with you. Mark, I think we've hit the end.
Perfect. That was great stuff. Thank you to both of you, Grant and Mike. Thank you for the information. Again, you've got their contact info right there. They're just great guys, and we're happy to help you and answer any questions privately. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for your support of the chamber. And Grant and Mike, great stuff. Thank you again for your information. We all hope you have a great day.
Okay, our pleasure. Thanks again, all.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys. See ya.